Joel Osteen went silent after Jonathan Roumie exposed the truth on a live stage. It began in a packed auditorium. The lights dimmed. Thousands sat in quiet anticipation. A soft hum of voices filled the air, restless, searching. They came for answers. They came for hope. And no one expected what would unfold that night. Joel Osteen stood smiling on stage, his trademark grin steady, his polished words ready. He had spoken on countless stages before, always sure, always smooth. Yet tonight, something felt different. From the wings, another figure stepped into the light. Jonathan Roumie. The actor beloved for his portrayal of Jesus in The Chosen. A man known for humility, for grace, for bringing something raw and real to every word he spoke. The crowd stirred. A murmur swept through. No one had expected him. And in that moment, Joel's smile flickered. The air thickened. You could almost feel it, like the weight of a storm pressing down before the first drop of rain. And then Jonathan spoke. Joel, his voice was calm, steady, but it carried. You've built a kingdom of glass. But glass cannot feed the hungry. It cannot heal the broken. It cannot save the soul. The words cut through the auditorium like a blade. Joel shifted. His eyes darted, searching the faces in the crowd, searching for escape, for reassurance. But the silence grew heavy. This was not the script. What happened next would ripple far beyond that stage. Because this was not just a clash of men. It was a collision of two visions of faith, two visions of truth, two visions of what it means to follow something greater than ourselves. And it left Joel Osteen silent. You see, the story didn't begin that night. It had been building for years. Joel Osteen, the smiling preacher, the best-selling author, the man who filled stadiums with his message of prosperity. He spoke of blessings, of abundance, of living your best life now. Millions tuned in. Millions bought the books, filled the pews, sent donations. But critics asked, where was the cross? Where was the sacrifice? Where was the raw, unpolished truth of the gospel? For some, Joel's words were comfort. For others, they were empty. And then Jonathan Roumie appeared in the cultural spotlight. Not as a preacher. Not as a celebrity chasing fame. But as an actor stepping into the role of Jesus with a startling sincerity that left audiences shaken. He wasn't preaching wealth. He wasn't preaching self. He was reminding people of a harder truth, that love is costly. That grace demands surrender. That following Christ is not about shining lights and packed arenas, it's about humility. About carrying the cross. Two men. Two messages. Bound for collision. And so, when Jonathan stepped on that stage, people leaned in. Joel began with his usual rhythm. Words smooth as silk. We're here tonight to celebrate the goodness of God. To remind you that you are destined for greatness, that nothing can hold you back if you believe. The crowd clapped. A familiar melody. But Jonathan interrupted. His voice rose, unshaken. Greatness, he said, staring out at the audience. Do you think Jesus came to make us great? Or did he come to make us servants? Gasps. Some clapped. Some fell silent. Joel froze. Jonathan walked closer, his hand open, his eyes burning with conviction. Joel, you've told them God wants them wealthy. Comfortable. That he wants them smiling all the way to the bank. But tell me, when he was nailed to that cross, was he comfortable? Was he smiling? Was he rich? The silence deepened. Joel's lips parted, but no words came. Because for the first time, the script had been torn in two. Act by act, word by word, Jonathan pressed on. He spoke of the forgotten. The poor. The addict in the alley. The single mother holding her breath over an empty fridge. This, Jonathan said, his voice trembling with emotion, this is where Jesus walks. Not in million-dollar mansions. Not on private jets. But in the broken places. The crowd erupted. Some stood and cheered. Others looked away, uneasy, caught between admiration and discomfort. Joel lowered his gaze. His practiced smile cracked, his hands clasped nervously. He had built his empire on polished encouragement. But in this moment, standing in the shadow of something raw and undeniable, encouragement felt like a mask. And the mask was slipping. What came next felt like lightning. Jonathan turned to Joel directly. His words sharp, but not cruel. You've been given a platform most could never dream of. Millions listen to you, Joel. Millions hang on your words. And yet, when they leave, do they know Christ? Or do they just know you? Joel's silence said more than any sermon. The audience held their breath. And in that stillness, Jonathan dropped the final blow. Truth doesn't need lights. It doesn't need wealth. It doesn't need applause. Truth stands even when the stage is empty. The room shook not with sound, but with realization. Joel Osteen went silent. His lips moved. But no words came. And for the first time in a very long time, Joel Osteen had nothing to say. The aftermath was immediate. Clips spread across social media. Millions shared the moment. Debates raged. Some defended Joel, saying his message of positivity had changed lives. Others claimed Jonathan had spoken what needed to be spoken, that someone finally called out the hollow comfort of prosperity preaching. Joel remained quiet. Days passed. Then weeks. His smile returned on camera, but something had shifted. People saw it. They heard it. And Jonathan? He never gloated. Never mocked. He simply stepped back into his role, continuing to remind people of the same message, that the way of Christ is narrow. Costly. Worth everything. And that night, it still lingers. Not because one man won, but because truth cut through the noise. Sometimes silence speaks louder than sermons. Sometimes exposure comes not with anger, but with love too strong to keep quiet. And sometimes the truth doesn't need to be dressed up, it simply stands, raw and unshakable. So the question remains. When the lights fade, when the stage empties, when the applause dies down, whose words will echo in your soul? The man who promised you comfort? Or the man who reminded you of the cross? Joel Osteen went silent. And the world is still listening.